Hi everyone, welcome to Good for the Game TV on YouTube. You're watching the Handicap rugby chat that matters. If you watch one rugby show on betting, it's got to be this one. We're going to be going through all the weekend's Handicap, Rugby Championship, Currie Cup. There's, of course, some Pro 14 action. We'll focus on the Cheetahs and Kings games there. Kings causing a massive upset last week. Well, at least in the eyes of most of us, it was a massive upset. Perhaps not all of us. And we'll also ask the likes of Hendrik Swart if he's got any other fancies in New Zealand, because he has been on fire there as well. I'm joined by the usual panel, if I can call them that, and it certainly is a full panel. And I'll start off down in Cape Town. He was first to link in for the call. Hendrik Swart, he's in his Western Province jersey. That tells you one thing. He was all over the -3 like a cheap suit earlier in the week. How are you, Hendrik?
Hi, Brent. I'm good in yourself, man. Yeah, I took the -3.5, and I saw that there was some +10.5 Sharks yesterday available Sunbet. I know Iron and Oracle's not going to agree with me, but I would have taken the -10.5 Western Province as well.
Yeah, I saw your comments on the Good for the Game forum. Very bullish. We'll get into that game a little bit more later. Hein Demand, Hein, last week you were complaining about a bad Wi-Fi signal. How are you looking this week?
Oh, Brent, hopefully it'll be a little bit better. Let's hope it lasts, because I definitely want to get into that conversation of Hendrik on the 10.5 there.
That's for sure. I think it'll be an interesting one. And certainly, I think it was Gavin who pointed out, even on I can't recall if it was pointed out on a forum, but somebody pointed out, well, at the end of the day, there's no reason, almost no reason for losers there, in the sense that 10.5 is a great price, but so was 3.5. And Oracle, I haven't watched your preview on this game. We'll find out later in the show what you've gone for.
Yeah, Brent, I got to tell you, I was happy with the 14-10 Sharks to win the game, and now apparently I haven't looked around. I can get as much as 5-2. Yeah, but I'm all in South Africa. I've got a little bit of Pro 14 action, but yeah, pretty much most of my money's on South Africa.
Most of your bucks down on South Africa. Well, let's get straight into the Rugby Championship. We'll do a betting preview on Saturday afternoon as well, before the Springbok game, and we'll cover both games there. But having a look at the championship, the betting's been out for quite some time, and I'll start with you. We're looking at about 8.5 points. South Africa favoured. Quite a lot of team news during the week. Maybe not the best of team news from South Africa point of view. And the question is, which side of the handicap are you coming down on?
Brent, I listened a little bit to what you were saying earlier, and I must say I was on both sides of the coin there. To start off with, I was thinking I'm a bit scared that the Boks are already looking at the Pretoria game. They're already focusing on the return match against New Zealand, so I was a bit worried. And then I got swayed. I think for the last 10 days, Oracle's been looking forward to having a go on the Boks. So I got swayed again, and then you mentioned it again this evening. So maybe I'm going back to the other way of being a bit worried on that handicap. But I felt initially that 6.5, 7.5 was the way to go. Again, Gavin likes to talk about that as well, is that you have to think about how bad the Aussies are, maybe, rather than how good the Boks are. So if you go from that point of view, then maybe that's still a decent price. But yes, I don't like the team selection that much. I know it's like for like, probably, with Noche coming in for Warren Whiteley. But I mean, against the All Blacks, the big thing was his strong defensive display, and I don't think you're going to see that from Noche. So in that sense, running the ball, they might be the same, but not defensively. Centers, I'm not exactly sure of Esterhuizen at inside centre is not. It might be strange to say as good a distributor as Damien de Allende, and if you're worse than Damien de Allende as a distributor, then you've got a problem. And yeah, so there are a few shortcomings in the Boks setup for me, but hopefully they should still be good enough to cover the cap against the Aussies, especially maybe looking at some second half action or something like that. Hopefully the confidence will be there for them to cover that cap.
Well, let's cross over to Durban now, because I watched this man's video early in the week, and I heard things like pay the punter, the ticket. Yeah, there's no chance. It's a race over. You can pay the punters. And Gavin Cohen, you're obviously very, very firmly in the Bok camp on the minus.
Yeah, Brent. Like I said, it's not about for me being in the Bok camp. It's about being in the camp that's against those rubbish Australians. They have no chance. Honestly, I've gone into a bit of a combination with Sean Nicholas to win this trip, Destination Loftus, and we've plotted our way, and obviously I went Lions last week, he went Sharks, so we win the trip, we're going together, and we're both talking how we're going to get the right number on this game, and I can tell you it's not going to be a low number. This Australian team is the worst I've ever seen. Chaika, for me, if he's not fired after this one, he'll be fired after the next one because they're not going to win next week either. Yeah, this just is. My bet is 100% because Australia are bad. I don't know too many of the players. I don't know the positions that well with regards to South Africa, but South Africa's on a high. They've won that game. You spoke about New Zealand's results when they go to Argentina. Australia haven't done well in South Africa. In fact, they've lost in the double digits a fair amount of times. Sure, last year it was a draw, and the year before I think they lost by 8. So last year is the only time in the last 7 or 8 years that they've actually lost this game by, the handicap would have arrived. Yeah, so every other time South Africa's won this, and our team at the moment in 2018 is certainly better than it has been in the last 3 or 4 years. And Australia is the complete opposite. This is the worst Australian team. I'd be very embarrassed if I was an Australian, and they are going to get thumped. Right, they can put the result in and pay us.
Put the result in the frame. That's confidence there from Oracle Rugby. A couple of questions in the comments section about that competition that you're referring to, Gavin, which is Destination Loftus. You can find the details. If you look to the top right of the Good for the Game page, there's a section, I think it's called Bonuses, and you see little bookmakers logos. Click on the GG Gaming section. You'll see there's an updated log. Henrik being at top of that log with Bertie there, having called the Sharks by 16 last week. But bear in mind, if you want to enter that competition, there's still plenty of time to do so. You can get on for this game because the points and the log is on there as well. They do count 50% more. Let's move on, though, to Henrik Swart. Henrik, which way are you leaning in this one?
Brent, I think South Africa will win, but I'm definitely not as confident as Oracle. I like the pack that Australia picked. I think they will be better in the scrums, and I'm not. Like Hein said, I agree with Hein on the South African combinations in South Africa. I don't like Notcher at 8. I wasn't even a fan of Whiteley, but Notcher is a step backwards as well for me. So I've taken South Africa by 1-12 at 17-10, and then I've also put a bit on Australia plus 10.5 at 10-11. I think South Africa will do enough to win, but I'm not as confident as Oracle. I don't think they'll win by more than 2 converted tries. Yeah, and also this game is not at altitude, so that takes a bit of advantage away from South Africa. I think Australia will run us close.
Henrik, I must say I'm a little bit like you. I was very, very bullish on South Africa early doors, but the closer the game comes, the more I start thinking that Australia have got a squeak in this one. So I'm pretty much sitting on the fence here. I'll get more involved in our Saturday show where we have a look at things like total points lines. And I know we'll have the likes of Bo, and I hope I get his name correct now. He'll probably be at the ground giving us a weather report, or at the very least in Port Elizabeth giving us a weather report. So we look forward to that one. I'm just going to come back to you before we move on, because I know you've often got some other little bets that you want to place on these games. Have you spotted anything yet?
No, Brent, no, not really. As you said, maybe on Saturday we can have a look and maybe have a go at some try scorers or something. But again, it's a little bit more difficult with the test than a Currie Cup game. If you don't expect too many tries, it's not really worth having a go on someone like Noche or something like that. So I wouldn't say maybe Malcolm Mark's first try scorer if you think we could go for the rolling maul to get things going. So maybe that's an option to have a look at.
Right, well, let's move on to the game that takes place. Well, this is a late one, and I must say it's a sort of game.
I want to give you one more bet for the guys. The points. I don't know what the points are going to be for Australia, but you can certainly go under there with confidence. I don't even see Australia getting as much as they got against New Zealand. They got 12 and 13. I think Australia will battle to get more than 10 points in Port Elizabeth against us. Sorry, you can carry on.
I must admit that they do. They have a very scoring record against South Africa, although the draw last year was 27-all, which is of course a bit different. But yeah, so Gavin, very confident you've got low unders on Australia. I must say I'm a bit nervous to go unders on Australia. I do rate that backline, and I see a few of the boys in the comment section making note of the loose forwards, Hooper and Pocock as a combination. They can be deadly. So well, we'll give Oracle his due there. He's very bullish on the box. The rest of us perhaps not as strong on this game. But moving on to the New Zealand game, they're playing, of course, in Argentina, and that's games at 20-1 South African time on Sunday morning. So safe to say, I probably would have had to have either a very good weekend or very bad weekend to be up for this one. Who am I kidding? I'll be watching the game. I'll be backing on the game. And Henrik, let's start with you on this one. 17.5. You got minus 17.5 New Zealand, plus 17.5 Argentina.
Yeah, Brent, I think New Zealand will be a bit angry after the last game against South Africa. I'm expecting them to bounce back. Argentina, they've been good. They've been really good. They've been better. But I expect New Zealand to be a lot better over here. And with Sonny Bill Williams back, that will be good for New Zealand. New Zealand, they don't play off their 10 like most teams do. They play off their 12, and he's their main guy on 12. He gets over the advantage line, get the offloads going. I think New Zealand should be good to cover the handicap, but I like the New Zealand second half minus 9.5 handicap more actually than the first half handicap. So I'll go for the second half handicap New Zealand.
Let's bring the Oracle in there now. New Zealand, such big favourites. Is the cap too big, Gavin?
Brent, it's really the same as what it's been for the last few years. And for me, the only difference here is Mario Ledesma. I think that Argentina have got the confidence. They've got the ability to stay within in this handicap. Henrik's right. The right way to go here is probably to go the minus. But I think it's just a little bit disrespect at 17 points. I think it's value for me going Argentina. I've even had a nibble on them winning the game. It's the one game they haven't won yet, and I do believe they've got the ability to do it. I think New Zealand are a bit shaken after losing to South Africa. There's one of two things that are going to happen. Either Henrik's 100% right here, and there's going to be a massive backlash, or Argentina are going to carry on from their form in New Zealand and beating Australia last week. I mean, this is a fantastic year for them. They beat us. They beat Australia. If you'd said to me at the start of the season, start of the tournament, they're going to win 2 games, I would have probably laughed at you. But yeah, they've won the 2 games. They're full of confidence. They're unlikely to come last in this tournament. And it's a great year for them. And I think they'll cap it off by playing very well against New Zealand. Obviously, it is New Zealand, and New Zealand are New Zealand, and they can score 20 points in the last couple of minutes of the game. Or it's just one of those ones. I'm going on the plus. I'm probably not going to watch the game because I'm going out on Saturday night. If I watch it, it'll probably be early in the morning. I may watch it. I'm not saying I'm definitely not going to watch it, but geez, I don't know. It's going to be a sweat for me. Henrik won't be sweating. The minus guys will be in with a shout at any one point in the game. Plus punters are going to sit on the edge of their seats and sweat.
Right, guys, just to show you a website that I spend quite a bit of time on, Pick and Go. I don't know if you guys punt on this one, but just having a look at the head-to-head records, and let's start with the Argentina-New Zealand game. This is Argentina v New Zealand in New Zealand, and here you can see New Zealand 26 points last year, that's 19 points the year before, 21 points the year before. What is that? 18 points the year before that, and 39 points the year before that. I find this quite a useful website, but I do take into account the fact that obviously Argentina, I think, are a much improved side than they probably have been over the years. But while we're on the site, I just wanted to pop on South Africa against Australia. This is in South Africa. So you've got the 27-all draw last year. And then you've got what I found quite interesting, quite a few low-scoring encounters. And just to Gavin's point there, if you look at Australia, if you take that 27-all draw out of the equation, Australia have not scored more than 14 points against South Africa for the previous 5 matches in South Africa. So that stat, I must admit, surprised me quite a bit. And certainly one that I suppose if you are looking for a sell on Australia points, you could go with. But Hein, I just wanted to take that little bit of diversion to show you that website. What are you going on this game?
Yes, Brent, I think I'm probably a little bit in between both camps there, between the Oracle and Henrik. It's a tough one. You can see arguments for both sides there. Off the face of it, 17 points to this Argentinian team at the moment. You've got to say that's not enough respect. But again, the problem is the past result, and the New Zealanders really being keen for this one. And I actually think Gavin said it earlier sometime a few weeks ago, maybe, is that it might a lot depend on the first game. So I'm actually holding fire, and then I'll change my strategy probably. So I think if New Zealand need to win that bonus point, and then they're going to go for it full on, then I think they could actually run away with it. So I think it could get quite a bit of a margin there. So if it's going to be on, then I think New Zealand will cover it, and they'll cover the handicap. If it's a little bit less important to them and they don't need it, then I think they might just squeak through. So I'm going to hold fire and wait for that. But if I had to go for something, I'll agree with Hendrik there. I'd rather prefer the second half handicap. But again, New Zealand will come out smarting after that performance, so they might actually start better than they do normally because they're hurting a bit. So on that front, if they have a good first half and second half, then of course the total handicap is the way to go. So yes, I'll have a look at that first game, but I'm leaning towards the All Blacks on the minus at this stage.
I must say, Hein, that was spoken like a bit like me at the moment, a little bit indecisive on this game. Just to mention, Ruan Fourie, minus 15.5, he's saying available at Hollywood Bets. So if you are looking to get on the New Zealand minus, that's where you can get it at Hollywood Bets at 15.5. I think that's about the best available. Gents, we will talk more for those of you available about the Rugby Championship matches coming into the weekend. But let's go on to the lone Currie Cup match of the weekend. And I've got a feeling we're going to have quite an interesting chat here, because I've seen on the Good for the Game forum some massive differences of opinion in this game. And let's start off with, I'm going to start off with Henrik again, because Henrik's the guy who comes on a Monday and has a look at the early handicaps and shares his fancy. GG Gaming were out. They had -3 or -3.5 Western Province. And Henrik, you were all over that. In fact, you even said that when the handicap moved to 7.5 with the other bookmakers who came out, you'd be all over that as well if you hadn't already got the -3.
Yeah, Brent, we were driving back from Artenbos on Monday, and I made sure my wife's driving so I could be on my cell phone and check GG Gaming every like 10 minutes to see when they came out. And then when the 3.5 came out, I took some of that, and yeah, I'm very happy to take that. Like I said on the Good for the Game forum, I'm happy to take any single digit minus on Western Province. So yeah, I'm very happy. When I took the bet, I knew about. Well, I thought I knew who won't play for Western Province. I see Ruan Hell has he's back in Cape Town. He's starting for Western Province. Western Province, they have good depth at the moment, so I'm happy. The Sharks, for me, they were made to look good again because they played a poor side last week. And yeah, John Dobson, I've changed my mind on him. You know, I haven't been a big Dobson fan, but I really changed my mind on him. He's coaching Western Province brilliantly at the moment. They actually remind me a lot about the Crusaders. They're very good on defense, and then they kill you on the turnover. And they have, in my book, the best finisher in the world in Sergio Peterson. He'll finish any try for you. So yeah, I'm really strong on Western Province on the minus here.
I must say I was very impressed with Sergio Peterson's try that he scored. I think he might have scored a couple on the weekend. But the one try that he scored where he sort of kicked it, he ran out of touch and managed to dot it down. It was a superb try. I'm going to bring Hein in next because I want Oracle to be the sort of, let's call it the decision maker or the decider here, because I know that Hein is not necessarily in the same camp as Henrik. You'd probably agree, though, Hein, that the -3 was a good spot by Henrik, but you've subsequently found, I think it was +10.5, the Sharks at Sunbet, and that's where you're going.
Brent, I said it was decent value and probably the way to go, the 3.5, but I wouldn't be throwing my money at it. But firstly, I just want to say I'm glad Henrik is on board the John Dobson chain finally there. So I called that one pre-season. I'm pretty chuffed that he's seen the light. Especially, I've always said he's good with youngsters. He's a good coach with a young lot who's willing to learn. And also, I think this team has basically come a long way with him from age group rugby. So that's the advantage they have. And also, before the season started, you know, the first game I said it was going to be great. Seeing this young province game with Kumbarai and Schikkeling maturing and Augustus and those guys. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've got great respect for them and I love the rugby that they play. But that's actually probably the reason why I think the Sharks are a good one to go for. I think it's a young side. They love playing great rugby, just expressing themselves on the field. But the Sharks have got a few more hard campaigners in there, a few more guys who I think know how to get the job done, even if it has to be ugly. And I don't think Province has that. I mean, you just look at that bench, bringing on Cooney and Akker, as opposed to, yeah, I don't even know the guys on the bench, Saadi and, okay, Caleb Westhuizen isn't too bad, but I mean, they're not on the caliber that the Sharks have. I mean, I'm not the biggest Chili Boy fan, but it's not bad having Chili Boy starting a game for you. Thomas du Toit at tight head. It's only at lock that I think Province have a bit of an edge because it could be tough for the Sharks at line-out time with Schikkeling. He's fantastic at line-out, and the Sharks don't really have a big line-out specialist. So that's I think the only thing that's stopping me from really going for the Sharks on the board. They've got a strong rolling ball, and that'll be the key to attack from. And if Schikkeling can upset that, then it might be a bit of a tough grind for them at the back. I think it's pretty much even. Sharks have a better scrum off and a better backup scrum off than Province have in the initial squad. So that's a no-brainer. Fly off, Robert Dupree is a solid guy. So, I mean, yeah, they've got Sergio, but that's about it. Ronel, I was surprised to see that he is playing. So that's also another little setback for me. But, yo, if you could get +10, I don't think that's you should be getting that. That's fantastic value. Sharks +10, that's got back that stamped all over it.
Right. Well, we've had the two different points of view there on that. We've got two very definite camps. So let's go down to Oracle Rugby and see what he has to say. Oracle, I guess just to say the team that they both have played and beaten well recently is the Lions. Western Province, of course, winning in Johannesburg very convincingly. And the Sharks, I was very impressed with them last week in the wet conditions against the Lions. As those who watch the GG Gaming Go Mad show will see, it cost me some big money in the GG Gaming Master Punter competition. So I'm a little bit undecided here, and I'm interested to see where you're going to come down on this one.
Yeah, Brent, I think I disagree with Henrik saying that the Sharks were made to look good. I think the Lions weren't too bad in Durban. They were shocking against Western Province. There's two other games where they've played mutual opponents. So they both played the Cheetahs and they've both played the Pumas. The Sharks were really poor against the Pumas. I don't think the Pumas were that good that night. And the Pumas were shocking against Western Province when they played in Nelspruit. And the Sharks went to Bloemfontein thinking they'd already won the game by 50. They were way out. I mean, that was that game where we had the handicap at 16 and at 45, and they couldn't find a 30-point middle. I mean, the Sharks nearly lost it in the end.
Henrik must be for me to stop talking about that game, eh, Gav?
Yeah, you're right. Sorry. I've had a small play here, Brent. I actually, when I first saw the +3.5 and Sharks to win the game at 14-10, I took the 14-10. I was happy with that. I just felt it was a little bit of value. I personally would have priced this game up at probably close to 9-10, possibly 8-10 Province, or even 7-10 Province. I don't know if I would have gone out to 14-10 Sharks. I think it's an unknown at the moment. Both teams, as Han mentioned about the Sharks team is definitely good on paper. I don't personally know all of those guys. I can't help you with all of their names. With regards to Ruanel, I got to say, he's going to walk on the field on Saturday. He's going to be depressed. Surely, I mean, that gets called up to a Springbok camp, probably put a blazer on or a tracksuit on and sent packing back to Cape Town. I don't know how motivated that act's going to be to show up. But yeah, look, sure, Western Province can win this game by 10 points, and the Sharks can win the game by 10 points. So I'm with Han. I think at current levels of +10.5, if that's still available, even at +8.5, I'm definitely interested in the Sharks. And that would bring the board price up to about 5-2 or 2-1 or just over 2-1, 22-10 maybe. I think there's a little bit of value there. I wouldn't be touching Province at 3-10 to win this game. And I'm not taking Province minus. I don't know. I'm not interested. But I'm not big on this game. I'm not as confident as Henrik or Han for that matter.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be much of a decider on this one either. I'm a little bit. I did think the -3. Just to let you know, as you guys know, I handicap the games on the Good for the Game forum normally on the Sunday night. I was away this week. I'm also doing a video for it most weeks as well. And I went -6.5, which is pretty much where the line seems to have settled, or seems to be the average at the moment. So it's not a game I'm particularly interested in at this point, but interesting to hear two such strong viewpoints from Hein and from Henrik. And I guess you can take a listen and take your pick as to which one of those guys you want to follow. Just the one Currie Cup game this weekend. Guys, anything else before we move off the Currie Cup? I sense that Hein's going to come with a few more bets.
No, just on that game, I do think that Province will start fast. I mean, they've started fast every game thus far. The Sharks usually take a little bit of time to get into it. So, again, a market that I've actually lost a bit of money on thus far is first scoring player, Province try. Obviously, I think that both teams might take a shot at goal, but I just think Province have started quite fast and they could get in for an early score there. So that's worth a play. And then also, I saw Sunbet had Province halftime, Sharks full-time at 11-1, and I mean that's just too big for me. I'm definitely getting on that, hoping that the Sharks can finish strong. And the same, the second half handicap, they've got Sharks +4.5, so that's also a play for me. I think Province will come out, start well, and then usually they run out of gas a bit. And as I said, I like the Sharks bench of Akker, and I'll probably have Akker van der Merwe last try, or Currie Oosthuizen, and you're probably going to get like almost 40-1 on Currie Oosthuizen as last try scorer, so that's also worth the play.
Just to mention, Chris Sturdy, who did the Good for the Game preview, he's on the Sharks Plus. They're also watching and commenting there on the live comments. So if you're not watching this through YouTube on the live comments, you are missing out a bit. It's always good to see what the boys fancy. Guys, there's plenty of other rugby on this weekend though, and let's go on to some Pro 14 action. And I'll focus once again on the Cheetahs and Kings games, and then we can see if any of you fancy anything else. You've got the Cardiff Blues up against the Cheetahs. That's on Friday night. The Cheetahs, of course, getting a draw last week against Ulster. A draw they might well have been a bit disappointed about, as they looked like winning it with a few minutes to go. And here the handicap, I'm on Sunbet's side at the moment. And let me start with you, Hein, is 24.5 points, obviously in favour of the home team, the Cardiff Blues.
Yes, I think unfortunately that the handicap's a little bit more than I was hoping for. I've been sticking to Cardiff for the last 3 weeks, and finally they repaid me this past weekend. So I was pretty chuffed that they finally came through for me, and I was keen on getting involved on this one. But then I saw the handicap, and maybe again the second half might be better. The Cheetahs seem to come out, give it a go initially, and then the wheels come off. So I'll have a look at second half handicap at that price. 24, 25, 26 is what I've seen, and that's just that's usually where I get a little bit nervous at those kind of prices. So either in running of the Cheetahs can get an early try, or otherwise I'll have a little nibble probably beforehand on about the 12.5 second half handicap on Cardiff.
Right, Hendrik, this is a tough game for me as well, because I also thought the Cheetahs might be about plus 17.5 as opposed to sort of in the mid-20s. And I was probably leaning then on Cardiff. But at the current caps, I'm not too keen to get involved. Do you fancy anything here?
No, I'm the same as you and mine, Brent. The Cheetahs, they've improved a bit. So I also expected the lower handicap, but I'm wary of taking the bigger minus on Cardiff. So I'm going to have a look at points here. The Cheetahs games, they've been very high scoring so far. So I'll look at Cardiff overs if I can get something in the 50s for them. And even if the total points isn't too high, I'll take overs on total points as well. But I'm staying clear of the handicap here.
Gavin, you got an opinion on this handicap? I haven't checked your site or your YouTube channel. Have you done a Pro 14 preview?
Yeah, I did it earlier this evening, Brent. I haven't put it onto YouTube yet. And I'm saying put the result in, pay the punters, race over, Cardiff will win by 50. You can put your house on this one. No, I'm just joking. I do feel, I'm hearing these guys saying they were expecting you as well as Han, expecting 17 or 18. I got to tell you, I'm surprised this handicap's under 30. I'm not going big on it because I've not called the Cheetahs too well in the last few games. In fact, I've left them alone, a couple of them. I've gone a small half unit on the minus 24.5. I think I got 24.5. It's a small play, but I do believe it's the right way to go. I don't think the Cheetahs have got any chance in Europe. I don't think they're going to win a game for the next few rounds. Something's got to change. I don't know what's wrong with it. I know they've lost a few players from last year, but I don't know what happened last week. I mean, they ended up getting a draw. I don't know if that was bad Ulster or good Cheetahs, or I don't know what it was, but it was a flash in the pan for me. It's not going to happen again this week.
Right, that's the end then of the Cardiff Blues Cheetahs game. Let's move on, guys, to the Scarlets up against Kings. This takes place on Saturday. Now, the Kings turned in one incredible performance. And Gavin, let me stay with you because I know you were very strong on the Kings plus last week. I don't think you were alone. And I'll ask you the question first of all, did you back them on the board at home to Glasgow, who had won 3 from 3 before that match? And the Kings actually won the game convincingly. They now start 27.5-point underdogs.
Yes, Brent, I did. I backed them. I think I got 8-1. It was at game time. I didn't take the bet during the week. I took it a few minutes before the game. And at the site I was betting at, they had those alternative handicap, not alternative handicaps, the winning margins market. And they have 1 to 7, 8 to 14, and 15 and more. And I backed the Kings at 15 and more. So minus 14.5 effectively at 75-1. And it lost in the last minute.
Oh, no, that's devastating. 75-1.
It was 75-1. Look, that was just play money. There was a bit of change, but it still gave me a decent go in the game. I know that the guys we were talking to during the game, some of them had taken the plus 13.5 at half-time. I think that was the handicap. I mean, it's unbelievable. The Kings against Glasgow, who's absolutely smashed the Cheetahs the week before, at half-time or minus 13.5. It's crazy. Anyway, this week, I've had a nibble at the Kings. Kings plus 29.5. I know that some of the guys were talking that there were some 30s and 31s around. I'm happy with a 29. I haven't had a big bet. It just seems too much. It's 5 tries or more. Well, they've got to score 5 times to beat 29.5. And I think the Kings have done quite well. Yeah, look, there was that horrible game against Ulster at home. But other than that, I've been impressed with the Kings.
Well, just seeing Bo just saying the ref nursed the Glasgow Warriors to get their losing bonus point. I must tell you that I was delighted when they scored that try in the last minute, because at halftime, even though the Glasgow, I think, were on 0 at the time, I went over 21.5 points. And I think they took something like 58 minutes before they scored their first point. But then they did manage to get the 4 tries to deliver. And I was also on overs in the Master Punter competition there. So that game turned out pretty well for me. And Hendrik, to bring you in here, are you in the Kings camp this week, or are you looking to oppose them now that they're in Europe?
No, I'm also on the Kings, Brent. I've taken plus 30.5, but I'll take the current plus 27.5 as well. Just a medium bet, not very confident because the Kings, in Europe, they haven't shown to be good. But I think they are improving under Dion Davids. He's doing good as well, again, like he did 2 years ago in Super Rugby. And yeah, I think the Kings should be good for at least 2 tries here. So I hope I can get a low points on their points and go over some Kings points as well here, because they play exciting rugby. They've got good backs. So I think they'll be good for at least 2 tries, maybe early penalty or something, and you can go over some Kings points here as well.
I must say, I do think this Kings side have got plenty of tries in them this season. I think they're going to leak a good few as well, but they do have tries. Let's go down to Hein. Before I go in, just to mention Peter Paul, who also is Magic Man on Twitter. We managed to figure that out quite quickly. He's saying how important the team news is in Pro 14, and it certainly is, because he makes a comment that last week Ulster had actually a bit of a weakened side playing, although they still managed to come back and get the draw against the Cheetahs. So it is something, if you've got the time and you follow the league closely enough, you can perhaps get a bit of an edge by understanding the teams.
Definitely, Brent. That and English Premiership, I think it's the same. They often have quite a bit of a turnaround there, and then you end up backing the wrong side because you don't know who's going to be running out. So often we punt with a little bit of a lack of knowledge on that front, which is obviously a bit of a problem. Again, yeah, I'm with the guys on the Kings. If you had to take something, you take Kings on the plus. I'd have a little nibble on Kings plus. I wouldn't get carried away. I'm a bit worried that they won't be the same team that they are at home. I mean, they still have to prove that they can go and do that in Europe. So, but I think Hendrik says it's maybe Kings points is going to be the best way to go going forward, especially there as well. I think they'll still keep playing the same type of game. But I'm just a little bit worried. I actually kind of like Scarlets. I think Scarlets have the ability to cut loose, and they could do that in the second half. So maybe it's Kings first half handicap might be my play to go to if the points line isn't satisfactory for me. So that's where I'd be looking at in that game. And then the only other one I'd have a look at is Benetton Treviso are playing away from home against Edinburgh, and I'm going to take them to stay within 14.5 handicap there.
Right, 14.5 points plus. That's Benetton there. Let's ask you, Hendrik, anything else on the Pro 14? I will come back to you after this to talk about New Zealand rugby.
Yeah, I've only one other one. I've taken Glasgow minus 23.5 against Dragons. Glasgow didn't play the best team against the Kings. I actually didn't know that before the game, but I heard it after the game that Dave Rennie made a few changes. I think something like 8 changes from the previous week against the Cheetahs. So Glasgow, they'll play the best. They'll probably play their best team this week. And yeah, the Dragons, they haven't been good. They won against Zebra. They cost me money last week. But I'll continue to oppose Dragons. So I'm taking Glasgow minus 23.5.
I must say, I hadn't looked at the handicaps, but I do like your logic on that one. I fancy a strong bounce back by Glasgow, and I'm really, really not impressed with the Dragons at all. Gavin, anything else for you on the Pro 14?
I'm just amazed that they made eight changes to that team. That means they probably brought about 35 people to South Africa. That's unbelievable. I thought these eights would show up with about 25. But anyway, I'm with Hendrik on the minus there. I did have a go at Glasgow. In fact, I took 25.5 and I was happy with that. So, yeah, if you can get 23.5, all the better. I think Glasgow will win that game comfortably. I haven't gone big on that one. I have gone for the 2 Italian teams. Benetton playing away, like Hein said, the plus 14.5. That's got my interest. In fact, on the Pro 14 matches, that's my best bet. And the other one is I've backed Zebra on the board at home, 16-10 to win the game. They're not favourites again. They're playing the Ospreys. I've got to believe the Italian teams are still, you know, I did mention on my video, I've gone for Zebra and I've also gone against them. I too lost last week, like Hendrik did on Zebra. I'm going to stick with them though, especially at home. They've been reasonable at home. That's all I can say. I haven't put too much work into the Pro 14. I'm currently losing on that tournament from last year. I'm still trying to find my feet in it, and that's it. Yeah. So my best bet is the Benetton plus. I've gone for both the Italians and with Hendrik on the Glasgow minus.
And Gavin, just to finish off with you, we will come back for your best bet of the rugby weekend. But anything else in New Zealand? I know you don't play really the Mitre 10 Cup, but anything in the Premiership? Anything else to add?
No, Brent. So the only thing I was going to say is on that Western Province Sharks game, I think both defences have been pretty good. And, from a points punting point of view, I'm of the opinion that that'll be a low-scoring game. I know that, even Henrik on a -10.5 or -7.5, confidence levels, Province can win that game 18-10. It's not impossible. I think the defences have given us enough to tell us that this will be a tight game. I'd be very, very nervous going overs on that particular match.
Agreed.
Henrik, and anything else for you? I know you are doing really well in the New Zealand competition. You've got a big following on the Good for the Game forum. You fired an 18-10 shot in or something this morning. What have you got over the next couple of days?
I've had a look at the games coming up, tomorrow's game, and then 3 games on Saturday. Auckland playing against Otago tomorrow morning. Auckland back at home after winning by 1 against Taranaki. Auckland, they're the form team. They haven't lost. The only unbeaten team in the Premiership, and they're playing against Otago, a championship team. I think Auckland should be good to win by at least 2 converted tries. The handicap set at 12.5 and 13.5, depending on the bookmaker. I'm taking Auckland -12.5. Not my strongest one on the Mitre 10 Cup, but I'm taking Auckland. And then on Saturday morning, the first game, or Saturday afternoon, New Zealand time, early morning South African time, Southland, they're playing at Waikato. Southland, they're whipping boys of the Mitre 10 Cup, but they get to big handicaps every time, and they've been good on the pluses, on the big pluses. This one is +29.5. So I'm taking Southland, also not a big bet, but Southland +29.5. And then my big play on the Mitre 10 Cup over the weekend, Taranaki versus North Harbour. Taranaki, they're -3.5 here. I'm taking Harbour to win the game. You don't have to worry about the plus. You just take Harbour at more than even money. I got 15-10. After you've placed your bet, you can make a booking at a nice restaurant for you and your wife for the evening, and then you take her out on the money you've made on Harbour. So yeah, Harbour they'll win, yeah. Taranaki haven't been good. And then the Wellington versus Tasman game, I'm not sure. There's 2 good teams. Wellington -6.5. I'm staying out of that one for now.
Excellent, Henrik. Thanks very much for that. It seems like that bullish attitude of Gavin is starting to rub off on some of the other guys. But certainly the last time Henrik used the words of "don't bother about the plus, back them on the board" was on the Good for the Game forum this morning, and it landed. So I think you'd be well advised to take that advice. And yeah, I got a bit of a chance to watch some New Zealand rugby tomorrow morning, so I might get involved there as well. Hein, anything else for you on the rugby cards besides what we've chatted about?
Brent, I just think in the next few minutes that's going to strengthen to probably better than even money. I think everyone's going to rush to the side. I actually think we might lose our viewers now in the next few minutes. So no, I don't think there's something that really stands out to me this weekend, Brent. The only thing is the only other game in the English Premiership that I like is Northampton to beat Bristol. Again, I'm a bit worried about team news. I don't know if there's something that I don't know because they're not favourites for that one. But I just don't see the Saints losing to Bristol, even though it's away. So I'll have a little nibble on that. But yeah, probably my biggest play for the weekend is going to be some fashion of getting involved in the Sharks. I'm backing the second half handicap plus 4.5. I think that's I don't see Province blowing them away in that second with the stronger bench of the Sharks there.
Right, so that's your best bet of the weekend. And Gavin, I did say I'd come back to you for your best punt. I don't think any of us have any doubt what it is.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about Henrik's Harbour Burger and Harbour Chips with his Harbour beer. Yeah, so I'm in a very interesting situation on Saturday afternoon. I'm going to my family's going to a couple's house to watch the game. I'm going to be sitting with 1 non-drinker and 3 non-punters. I'm going to be the only punter sitting watching the game. So it should be quite interesting. But I'm all over South Africa, and as I said, if you have one bet this year for all those guys who take a bet every now and then, this is the one you got to take, South Africa. Yeah.
Right, Henrik, then we'll finish off with you. I'm just happy to hear when you said a couples thing, I immediately thought of some pretty terrible stuff. I was quite happy to hear they're going to be watching rugby. So, Henrik, your best bet then? I know you got obviously the Western Province -3, but if you had to still get on now, would that still be your best bet?
I'm going for North Harbour to beat Taranaki. You should get at least 13-10 at the moment. I got 15-10. If you want to take the plus, you can take the plus, but I think you can just take North Harbour to beat Taranaki.
Excellent. Gentlemen, thanks very much for joining us on the Handicap Rugby Chat That Matters. You can link in on our Good for the Game channel. I'm going to be chatting with Chris Sturdy about the weekend soccer. That's English Premier League and, of course, the MTN 8 final. That's between SuperSport and Cape Town City. You can subscribe to the video below this, and please share the video with your mates. We want to grow the popularity of this handicap program. Good punting, everyone. Have a great weekend of rugby.
Cheers.